Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, JKD Vlog Canada. This video it's all about how you can apply for Canada Child Benefit. So we will be covering the eligibility criteria, who is exactly is eligible for Canada Child Benefit. So basically, there's actually a detailed criteria, and it's very important to understand this criteria and to ensure that you meet the criteria before you actually submit your application for Canada Child Benefit. Otherwise, the application could be refused or declined, so it's very important that we understand this correctly. Okay. And this video is purely based on my own experience and the information published on Government of Canada's website. I don't work for the government. I'm not a representative for government. So just to let you know, this video is totally based on my own experience and research as published on Government of Canada's official website. So let's look into what exactly is the Canada Child Benefit. What's the criteria? How much you can get when you apply for it, and also um, how you can submit your application. So the Canada Child Benefit is actually a non-taxable benefit. So basically, it's not a part of your income. So that's what they're trying to say here. So when you get Canada Child Benefit in Canada, it's actually a non-taxable benefit. So you don't have to pay any tax on it, and it's not a part of your income, right? So for example, when you work here in Canada, you get a T4, for example, from your employer, or let's say if you're doing self-employment work, you're getting a T4A. So accordingly, you report your income and you file your taxes. So similarly, you don't get any slips for Canada Child Benefit. That's one thing, and you don't report it as your income. That's why it's called as non-taxable benefit. Okay. Now, this is only for the children under the age of 18. So once your child turns 18, the CCB will stop. So you won't be getting any Canada Child Benefit. Now, the CCB may also include an additional amount for the child disability benefit. So if your child has any kind of impairment, then you may can get an additional top up, which we call as a child disability benefit, right? It's actually gets paid, or it's an integrated payment along with the CCB, along with the Canada Child Benefit. Um, if you want to learn more about it, I would advise you to call Canada Child Benefit line on this number, 1-800-387-1193. But in case if your child has any disability, all they want you to do is to submit a T2201 disability tax credit certificate. It's basically you need to fill it by the doctor. You can find more information about this on this website. I will be attaching the link in the description as well. So basically, you need this approval. You need approval from Canada Revenue Agency, and that form is called as Form T2201. Once it's approved, then you can get an additional CDB pro payments up to 3,173 per year, which is 26.1 per month for each child. Okay. So that's basically an additional benefit along with the Canada Child Benefit, but it's only applicable if your child has any impairment. And for that, you will have to submit the DDC application. Okay. Now, when you apply for the child benefit, you're also applying or registering your child for other benefits like the GSTs, the Good and Services Tax Credit, the Climate Action Incentive Payment, which is now called as Canada Carbon Rebate, and other federal, provincial, title benefits administered by the CRA, like the other benefits. For example, if you're in Ontario, you will also be enrolling your child for Ontario Child Benefit. And if you're in Alberta, you will also be enrolling your child for Alberta Child Family Benefits, right? So that's what they're trying to say here. Now let's look into the eligibility criteria. It's very important to understand that you meet these criteria before you apply for Canada Child Benefit. All right, so let me open this information here somewhere. Okay, that's fine. So who can get the child benefit? It's very important. Let's go through this checklist. Now you must meet all of the following conditions. So the first condition is you live with a child who's under the age of 18. Okay, so that's one of the important criteria. Okay. Now, if you're not living with the child, um, then you may not be able to apply for it. For example, you are here in Canada and your child is living with someone else in a different country. So you may not meet that criteria. You're responsible for the care and upbringing of the child, which is basically primary responsible for the care. So who exactly is responsible for the care of the child? So the person who is responsible for the care and upbringing of the child should apply for the CCB. So for example, if you're the mother and you're the responsible for the care of the child, then you must apply for it. But if the child is with someone else, if someone else is taking care of the child, then of course that person should be applying for the child benefit. Now, what exactly means by the primary responsible? So, for example, whoever is living with the child, that person would be or must be supervising the child's daily activity and needs, making sure the child's medical needs are met, arranging for the child care when necessary. Okay. So that's another important criteria. So you must be primarily responsible for the care of the child. Now you're a resident of Canada for tax purposes, which basically mean you're residing in Canada and filing taxes, and you're considered a tax resident of Canada for tax purposes. If you're unsure about your residency status, you can contact Canada Revenue Agency to find out about your resident status here in Canada. Now, another important thing is you or your spouse or common law partner must be any of the following, right? A Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, protected person has received a positive notice of decision from the Immigration and Refugee Board Canada, a temporary resident who's lived in Canada for the previous 18 months and who has a valid permit in the 19 months. Other than one state does not confer status or does not confer a temporary resident status, an individual is registered or entitled to be registered under the Indian Act. Now, let me explain this to you in a very clear and simplified way, simpler way. So basically, if you are living in Canada and you are a PR, so either you or your spouse is a PR, that's fine. Then you meet the criteria. Okay. Let's say your status is, for example, not a PR. You're probably on a, let's say, on a work permit, but your spouse is a PR. Then that's fine. Then basically you can still apply for the benefit. So, or if you're a citizen, that's great. If your spouse is a citizen, that's great. Now, those who are newcomer to Canada and they're basically have arrived here as a PR, that's fine. Either you or your spouse can apply for the child benefit. Now, the important thing is if you're on a temporary status, so that's very important thing, and it's very important to understand that because when you're a PR or citizen, there is no residency requirement. But when you are a temporary resident status, you basically you can only apply for a child benefit if you have lived as a temporary resident for the previous 18 months and you have a valid permit in the 19 months. Okay, so that's one of the requirements. So, for example, if you're a student, you must live in Canada for 18 months, and then you should have a valid permit in the 19 months. Then you can only apply for Canada Child Benefit. And this is all about the other status. So, your status as a temporary resident does, like basically, it should not say does not confer status or does not confer temporary resident status. If you have any doubts or confusion about your residency status, sorry, immigration status, you can contact our IRCC about that for that specifically. But generally speaking, if you're a newcomer and a PR, you can go ahead and apply for child benefit. But if you're a temporary resident, you must live in Canada for 18 months and you should have a valid permit in 19 months before you apply for child benefit. Okay. Now, you cannot get the child benefit for a foster child for anyone in with the child special allowances are payable. So that's another thing. All right. Now, very important. This is actually a part of a legislation who's prime responsible. We have already explained that. Now, there is something you need to understand when there's a female parent who live with a child. So when two individuals who are a spouse or common law partner, so let's assume someone is married and they're living, that person, is living with her spouse. Okay. Now, the female parent is presumed to be a primary responsible for the care and upbringing of the child in the home. She should be the one applying for the child benefit. So when there's a married couple, the mother should be the one who should be applying for it. Or if they are in a common law relationship, it's the same thing, but the mother must apply for it. The female presumption rule is a legislative requirement. So this is a part of a legislation. This is what I was talking about earlier. And only one payment per household can be issued under the Income Tax Act. No matter which parent receives a CCB, the amount will be the same. However, if the other parent is primary responsible, they should apply and attach a signed letter from the female parent stating that they are primarily responsible for the care and bringing of the child in the home. Okay. So, for example, like I just mentioned earlier, if there's a married couple, the mother should be the one who should be applying for it. But if the father wants to apply and the father is the one who is actually taking care of the child, then the father would attach a letter from the female parents stating that they're primarily responsible for the care and upbringing of the child in the home. Okay. So this is all about the PCG, the primary caregiver rule. Now let's talk about the child custody arrangement and your benefit. So this is all about, for example, if there's a separation and the child lives with you, mostly with you for more than 60% of the time, then you should be the one who should be applying for the child benefit. But of course, if there's a shared custody, 60-40, and then, both of the parents would be applying, each of them would be submitting their own application. Okay, so you can go through this information up here. Now, let me explain you about the application process. So there are three methods how you can apply for child benefits. So, but if you are a newcomer here in Canada, the only way you can apply for it through by mail, unless you already have set up a CRMI account, then you can go up there and apply from there. But generally, if you're a newcomer, you will just fill out the RC66 child benefit, Canada child benefit application, and then you would be submitting this application by mail. Now, if your child is born here in Canada, then what you could do eventually, as long as you meet the other criteria, um, for example, my child was born here in Alberta, so when the child was born, usually there's an option to apply for birth. You can apply for child benefit through the birth registration, and that's what I did, right? So make sure you look that up. So in case if your child is born in Canada, you can basically use this reference and apply through the birth registration. Then you don't need a separate application, right? So be sure to provide your concern SIN number in order for the vital status agency for your province or territory to securely share the pertinent birth registration information with the CRA. So that's one of the method. The other method is through the CRA My Account. They've clearly mentioned you go to My Account. If you already have one, you click on benefits and credit, locate the child information, click add. You'll be asked to confirm the contact information, marital status, enter your child information, review and submit it. So that's another effective way to submit your child benefit application. But if you don't have your child wasn't born here in Canada and you don't have CCRMI account, the only option you have is to submit the RC66 child benefit application and mail it to your tax center. And this is really a helpful information way to mail this up. So you can just basically, if you're from Alberta, you can send it to Winnipeg Tax Center. So you can find more information about the tax center by clicking on this link. Okay. Now, just make sure if like if you're applying for the first time, make sure you do submit your child benefit, the proof of birth with, when you're submitting a child benefit application, right? Even though if you're applying from CRA through CRMI account or submitting your application by mail, you must submit the proof of birth as it's mentioned on their website. Now let's basically, if you're claiming for a period that started more than 11 months ago, so for example, your child was born 1 year ago and you forgot to apply for child benefit and you would like to apply for child benefit now and you want to cover more than 11 months ago, right? Like the period that started more than 11 months ago, then you must submit all these required documents, right? All right. Now, this is very important. So if you're a newcomer to Canada, like I just mentioned earlier, when you're submitting the RC66 Canada Child Benefit application, right, you would also need to complete RC66 SCH. That's another thing, okay? Your status here in Canada. So that's basically to record some other necessary information to make sure you do submit RC66 and RC66 SCH, right? So basically, there will be two forms you would be submitting, not just one. If you're newcomer to Canada, make sure you do submit both forms, RC66 SCH and RC66, the child benefit, and then you can send it to your tax center. Okay. Now, in case if you are living in Canada with your child and you would like to apply for child benefit, but you do have a spouse who's actually a non-resident of Canada and living outside of Canada, then each year you will have to report your spousal income through outside of Canada through this form CTB9. Okay. So this is all about the child benefit process. Now let's quickly look into how much you can get or how to estimate your payments. Now this is actually a great calculator. Every year when I need to calculate how much I can expect to receive this year, I can just simply go to this link. You go to this link, you just select the tax year 2023 because you'll be calculating the payments from July 2023 till, sorry, 2024 till June 2025. I live in Canada, province, for example, Alberta, your marital status, for example, you can just simply mention single or whatever your status is. How many children do you have? Let's say you have one children. Do you qualify for the disability supplement? Now, this is important to understand if you reside outside a census metropolitan area. So, for example, this is only applicable for Canada carbon rebate. If you're living in a rural community, then you can look for Canada carbon rebate. But if you do reside in a census metropolitan area, for example, Calgary is a part of a census metropolitan area, so we'll just select no for it. Um, Now let's say, someone has a child XYZ, date of birth, let's put it, for example, 2021, January 1st, shared custody, no shared custody. This is something I explained earlier. Add this child, so you click on that just to give you an idea. Now let's go to the next page. Your net income, let's say someone has a net income of $32,000. Your work income was same. no use CCB or DCB income. Let's click next that. Now this is how much I can expect to receive this year between July 2024 till June 2023. Now it give you a breakdown of GST payments as well, because that's a good and services tax credit, Canada carbon rebate, how much I can get, Canada child benefit 648 a month roughly, and also Alberta Child and Family Benefits Card quarterly amounts. So this is, and it's also give you an information about the Advanced Canada Worker Benefit. So it's a great resource, and it's available for everyone on Canada.ca. So go ahead and check it out. In case if you have any questions and doubts, do call Canada Revenue Agency, and feel free to ask any question if you have any. Okay. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you like this video. Go ahead and apply for child benefit if you're eligible. It's a great initiative through the government of Canada, and the best thing is it's a non-taxable benefit. Well, take care, enjoy your day, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.